So, so my friends, I got to meet a few of my friends that I haven't seen for a while. One got married. One just came for a mini vacation because she was in a close enough country. And I kind of I talked about self-actualizing with them and kind of like realizing parts of myself, like looking at them from an objective way, because it's basically me trusting how they're seeing it. And the other side is basically the image of myself that I was representing and how close it is to the image I want to be representing to people and especially to people close to me. And that's practically what I'm doing right now, like this back and forth in order for me to kind of gauge my strength, my existence, my engagement, and all that good stuff. So the self actualization that was being done got me thinking of the way I view life and the way I view reality. Because I really believe like each one individually looks at reality in their own way because you are the center of your universe. Like your eyes are the first thing that you notice the minute you kind of like your eyes are the first thing that's utilized when you're seeing something. So everything's happening from inside of you. Everything on the outside world right now is basically an image imprinted in your head. That's something like huge. And it's profound as well in a very like anti-realistic way. So that's the whole like concept of when people are like we're living in a simulation because everything literally is in our head and everything we interact with is not really on the outside, it's in our head. From the stable to the cats, like each one of us has our own perception of reality. But so the way I see life is, and recently, like the more I actually got deeper into just trying to understand myself or trying to understand what the fuck I was doing or trying to understand why I wasn't happy or succeeding, all that stuff, the more I kind of like the back and forth because it wasn't actual effort. If you notice something, it's you're gonna notice something about it, and you're gonna notice where it's pointing at, and then you're gonna notice what you're doing to contribute to that. And then that loop kind of like never ends with anything around you. All it takes is like a certain kind of observation, I guess, or just giving something its time. And it goes back to all teachings, Buddhist teachings, Christian, Muslim teachings, Jewish teachings, fucking Sumerian teachings. It's all about like actually giving something its time and truly actually just having that thing in front of you, in the front of your mind, where your head can actually objectively look at it and just be like, what is it? Understand it a bit more. So there's where I kind of like differ when it comes to learning because I really don't, I think learning is just understanding from a different angle because we understand something the way we understand it. And people say the more we understand it, but you don't understand anything more, you understand it differently. And sometimes it's with more details, sometimes it's with less details, sometimes it's with a different perception. And that's how you kind of like build on top of it. So, based on my reality and what I am actually, what I believe myself to be within my own reality, it has to be in a way transmittable to other people. And I thought of that and I thought about how I would actually consider reality and what kind of reality I would want to show the people about my lifestyle, my life, my engagements, my thought process, my movements, and all these things. Ultimately, how would I, how would the person that I actually am trying to be look like to others? And the fact that I don't get to see these friends as often as I would like to, and the fact that they come and go like on a sometimes 4 or 5 years, man, I don't see them. Which means significant stuff should have happened in these 4 or 5 years in order for me to kind of like connect back with the person that I was with them. But I always lived my life on the basis that my reality is dictated by who I am. And who I am is basically my own investment, which means if I want to be, for example, a multimillionaire, that means I kind of have to be the guy that could make millions of dollars. Now, they would look different for each individual. A millionaire in real estate looks different than a millionaire in like tech. It looks different than a millionaire in just like fucking bonds or whatever, or a millionaire in farming, or a millionaire. Like each person gets to decide the character that makes that money. If I wanted to become a teacher or an educator or an academic, I have to decide the character that I would have to become that would be successful. But then how will I be able to kind of like engage with that character that I'm working towards, that I'm building towards, and all these things that I'm doing, the videos, the writing, the studying, the coding, the programming, the architect, the art, the marketing, the work, the consulting, the people skills, the references, all these things that I'm trying to do for in my head are contributing to that person. But an easier way for me to see how close I am getting is basically how others see me, because the easier I am able to articulate myself to others and not really explain to people to others. Like my work has to be revealed in me in order for it to actually succeed in the real world, because it's translated through me to my reality. And so for me to be able to kind of like use friends, family to kind of like reflect on future me instead of reflect on current me, and to be able to personally every time I hang out with people kind of like gauge the distance between me and the kind of person I am looking forward to be, in order for me to basically give the most of myself to the time that I spend with them, and to ultimately be, I don't want to say the best version of myself, but the truest version of myself. And so I don't know, but that's truly like, let me try to explain it in a different way, just so I actually get it clear in my head, and so that I wouldn't have lost you completely. You do not necessarily become successful by doing different things. Because when people discuss this, they always say you have to build skills, you have to know what you're doing, you have to make plans, you have to. But if you never made a plan before, that means a successful person like you, a version of you that's successful, makes plans. If you don't stick to plans before, like a successful version of you is basically a person that sticks to plans. If you can't code right now, and coding is part of the success that you're seeing, which means a successful person like you knows how to write code. If you can't speak to people right now, a successful version of you would be a person that knows how to speak to people. So ultimately, I have to manifest in my mind an actual clear vision of the person that I want to be, that I would imagine to be able to succeed in the things that I want. And that vision has to basically be created in a, I can only create the base in my head, because the closer I get to that vision, the more things I discover in front of me that would either contribute or not contribute to it. But I have to have a clear vision based on values and principles on what I would look like, what the person like me would look like in the future. So I don't have to worry about that at all. And so every step I do right now, I could actually connect it to a goal, to connect it to that goal. And every single time, for example, and that's something I read, I don't know if you guys know the manga Blue Lock, but ultimately what they discuss over there is, yeah, I mentioned it, I think I mentioned it once. I discussed a version of myself. And the people over there, the leaders, the strongest football players, one of them basically discusses that you have to choose a version of yourself that you think is the best. And then that version is the only thing that has the validity to pass judgment onto your current actions, because your current actions are either benefiting that version or not. And if what I'm doing right now is not going there, and hanging out with people that I haven't in a long time allowed me to gauge some form of distances between myself from the past and myself now, and allowed me to back and forth a few times, like through random conversations. Like you tend to realize when you're stuck on something, because you try to do something and then suddenly it's back into focus and the conversation goes around it again. And I'm happy because I was able to resolve things. More things might come up in the future. I have no fucking idea, but that's the beauty of it, right? Because for now, I actually have a clear image, but I'm only comparing it to now. How would I want to look at the future version of me that's actually successful or doing good and be able to kind of like utilize the fact that people around me are perfect as an engagement in order for me to be able to understand how to improve myself or how to get closer or faster or learn new skills or just understand how things are happening outside of my head. And I wanted to ask this question and actually discuss it out loud because I normally just discuss it with myself. But right now, I every single time I meet somebody and I feel like it's going to be something prevalent for me where I kind of like observe the engagement more, I don't want to say objectively, but from a third person standpoint. Because I'm going to have to require that kind of ability to be able to look at myself as if I'm somebody else instead of like feeling like I am delivering exactly what I want to deliver when the reality is I'm not understanding the people in front of me properly to do that. Ah, man, I don't know if it's all the books I've been reading, but like, yeah.